I'm going to walk through this review the way I'd approach any big-ticket home theater purchase, steady, no nonsense, and focused on whether the system actually fits the life you lead. If you're standing at the crossroads of I love movies, but my current speakers sound flat and I don't want to waste money on a set that will sit idle in the corner, this is the kind of deep dive you need. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the hesitation most buyers feel when they see a full 5.0 package that includes floor-standing towers, a center channel and 2 rear surrounds. The price point for a Fluance reference set sits in the mid to high range for a brand that isn't yet a household name, so the natural question is, does it really deliver the cinema-level immersion it promises, or is it another set of speakers that look great on paper but fall short once you press play? The answer, as with any audio gear, hinges on 3 things: the room you'll put them in, the kind of content you watch or listen to, and how much tweaking you're comfortable doing. I set these speakers up in a typical 12 by 20 foot living room with a decent amount of carpet, a medium-sized TV, and a 2.1 receiver that I already owned. The floor-standing towers are the star of the show here. Their down-firing 8-inch subwoofers, which Fluance touts as unique, actually make a noticeable difference when you fire up a high-octane action film. The bass feels tight and controlled. Think of it more as a well-tuned rumble than a boomy wall shaker. When a car chase rolls past, the low end stays articulate, letting you hear the individual tire squeal instead of a vague thump. That level of definition is something you usually need a dedicated subwoofer for, but the integrated design keeps the system tidy. The mid-range is handled by woven fiber cone drivers that claim vibrational damping. In practice, what that translates to is a clear dialogue that doesn't get lost in the mix. I tried a few dialogue-heavy movies, think The Social Network and Spotlight, and the center channel held its own, delivering speech that sounded natural without the nasal quality some budget speakers suffer from. The silk dome tweeters on the towers and the surrounds also do a solid job with high frequencies. When a violin solo rises in a classical piece, the notes remain crisp, not sibilant, and the spatial cues from the rear speakers create a sense of width that makes the room feel larger than it is. Now, let's be clear about the practical side of owning a 5.0 system. Because there's no dedicated sub, the floor standers have to handle both the deep lows and the high highs. In smaller rooms or apartments, the downfiring bass can sometimes cause vibrations that travel through walls, especially if you have thin drywall. I noticed a faint thump on the floorboards when I cranked the volume above 80%. If you live in a shared space, you might need to keep the volume moderate or invest in a rug to mitigate that. That's not a flaw in the speakers themselves, just a hidden trade-off of getting the extra low end without a separate subwoofer. Another practical consideration is placement. The towers need at least a foot of breathing space on each side to avoid muddied bass and to let the tweeters see the listening spot. In a cramped setup where the speakers are sandwiched between furniture, the imaging suffers and the highs can become harsh. I had to shift my sofa a couple of inches and pull the side walls back to give the towers some room, which is a small effort but worth noting for anyone with a tight living area. The center channel, being a compact cabinet, slides easily under a TV, but you'll still want it positioned as close to the screen's midpoint as possible to keep dialogue anchored. Who should buy this set? If you're a movie enthusiast who wants a noticeable step up from bookshelf speakers, enjoy a room with enough space to let floor standers breathe, and are comfortable doing a little basic placement tweaking, the Fluance Reference 5.0 delivers a balanced soundstage that feels more like a small cinema than a living room TV. It also works well for music lovers who appreciate a tight bass response without needing a separate sub, especially for genres like rock, hip-hop, or orchestral scores where the low end adds impact but shouldn't dominate. Finally, if you already have a decent AV receiver and are looking to upgrade just the speakers, this set gives you a lot of performance for the price. Who should skip it? First, anyone living in a very small apartment where the downfiring bass could disturb neighbors should consider a more compact, bookshelf-only solution or a set with a separate sub that can be placed away from shared walls. Second, if you're looking for absolute precision in the high frequencies for critical listening, say, you're a budding audio engineer or you stream high-resolution music daily, you might find the tweeters a bit too bright once you push them past moderate levels. Third, users who want a